I just make sure my microphone is actually on. This is a re-recording. It is my third time trying to record this video because my first attempt, I forgot to turn my microphone on, or at least I've had my iPad for 3.5 months. I usually don't record videos on my iPad because I just don't like recording videos on my iPad. I'm used to doing it on my phone, and it's a lot different on my phone. But my phone's dead, so that's why I can't do it on that. And I've done on my iPad like twice now, and since then, my iPad died on Saturday night because I watched YouTube and fell asleep while watching YouTube and didn't wake up until the morning. So I think that it dying turned the microphone off by default because it's the only time I've ever had my iPad turn off other than updating the software. But then the second time I went from Safari, which is what I'm on now, to YouTube. But I think going off of an app will just end your recording. It won't even save the recording. It's just gone. So that's one get for you as quickly as I can. Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, Taylor's version. Look at these. Fucking 99% Rotten Tomatoes. The only thing I can think of that got better than 99% is the Terminator. Like, Terminator 1. And don't get me wrong, I think Terminator 1 is a perfect film, but, I mean, there's no way that the people at Rotten Tomatoes think that this is better than, I don't know, Dune or Game of Thrones up till season 4. Like, even as a Taylor Swift fan, even if you were a diehard Taylor Swift fan, you have to admit that there are things way better than this. There isn't a 99%. It's just a fucking concert film. There's no sort of plot. It's not even a documentary. Like, me and Ben Man thought that this was going to be a documentary, or well, have documentary parts in it, and it just isn't. It's 3.5 hours of Taylor going through quite a lot of her discography because she's got so many fucking albums. It's ridiculous. So, the thing that got my second attempt obliterated was I was talking about the fact that she does these wee introductions to her songs, which I fucking hate them, but luckily she only did it once in this, and I forget what song it is for this, but I've seen her do it at other times, and I've seen a guy do like a sort of parody of it, and his parody was, I went on YouTube to try and find it, and it was just like the guy saying, you know, I took blood the other day, and the doctors came back and told me I have AIDS, so I guess you could say I have bad blood, and then starts playing bad blood, and it's just, that's cringe as fuck because it's just like absolutely whatever. Like, there's no creative process to that. Like, she thinks that she's being creative, she's not. Like, it's very basic. There was one thing that did actually impress me. There was a bit where she was transitioning from one era to another, and the way that she transitioned it was she sort of dived off stage, and then the stage floor is made out of glass, and there's like screens beneath it, and the screen showing her swimming. And I like that. It reminded me of when I went to see 21 Pilots like 5 years ago, and something similar happened. Although, I mean, unless they shown her doing that on like the big screens that they have behind the stage, who's going to see that? I have never been anywhere near the stage before. I've been to 2 concerts in my life, and both times I were in seats far away from the stage. So I don't know like how high up the stage is, but I would imagine that it's not many people can see the stage floor. So unless you're showing it on the big screen, like there's just absolutely no point in doing that. It's impressive, but no one that's actually physically there is going to see it unless you're on the seats because they're higher up. Speaking of eras, this isn't necessarily targeted at the film itself, but just Taylor. And probably the rest of this video is going to be targeted at Taylor rather than the film itself. But this eras thing, the way I see it, is that it's just each individual album. And if she's going to have like a different sort of style, it's not even a different style. It's a completely different genre for each album. And that might seem hypocritical coming as someone that listens to like 21 Pilots or the Monkees, stuff like that, because they transitioned from rock to pop. But the thing is that one, they did it as they entered their 30s, and it was then sort of maturing. And two, they stuck to it. Whereas this, she can't seem to find anything to stick to. It's just, I don't get why you would be a fan of her if she's only like, she might as well be different people each album. Like, first album's just Taylor Swift, second album, like, it's not a Taylor Swift album, it's a, let's just make a fake name here, Jane fucking Johnson. A couple people I know are going to be watching this, and they're probably going to be laughing at the fact that I said Johnson. That wasn't funny. That wasn't supposed to be a joke, it's just the first name that came to mind. Anyway. She also tried to do a couple of, like, feminist type things in this. Like, she has a song about being a man. It's like, I'm gonna sort of cosplay as a man and basically show how men are, or at least men who want to be, like, manly men are just fragile. And it's like, if you're gonna be, like, this strong feminist figure, a strong feminine figure, you can't really be attacking masculinity, because, like, you kind of need both. Like, either, the way I say it, either you can have masculinity and femininity, or you can have none of them. You can't have just one. And then before that, she, like, showing off her fucking muscles, and it's like, she is an absolute stick figure. There's not much there. There's a little bit of muscle, but it's barely anything. Like, if you were there physically, unless you had, like, really strong glasses on, you wouldn't have noticed it. I don't even think you would have noticed it on the big screens. Something else I want to mention that's ran about Taylor Swift herself instead of the film. Actually the film itself, because, you know, the theatrical version of this is on for 2 hours and 50 minutes. The Taylor's version, as they call it, which is just director's cut, which it just adds more songs, that's another 40 minutes. And it's just, I mean, we watched it on Disney, so it's not like we had to pay anything, but I think there are physical releases of this, and it's just like, oh, you know, she wants you to buy fucking tickets to go see the theatrical version in cinema, and then she wants you to buy the Taylor's version on DVD. Like, you might put up the argument that, you know, oh, what about director's cuts of, like, films? But the difference between that and this is that for something like Justice League, you know, that was completely different, the director's cut versus what we got initially. And that's because of studio interference. Like, WB were like, we don't want this to be 4 hours because we don't think anyone is going to watch a 4 hour film. But then people campaigned for it and we eventually got it. And they also just felt like certain elements of the story shouldn't have been there. But I mean, what studio in their right mind would have said to Taylor and or the person who directed this, no, we don't want these songs to be in the theatrical version because no one's going to stick around for 3.5 hours. I mean, really, the majority of the people that's going to be watching this are diehard Swifties. Like, they will watch an extra 40 minutes of songs that they love. Like, really, the only people that will be watching it that don't like Taylor Swift are going to be the parents of those diehard fans. But when it comes to the albums and Taylor's version of them, I think the argument that, or well, the reasoning behind her doing that is because, like, the label that the albums were released under, they took most of the money, and now she's releasing it again to actually make money. But the thing is that she has money. Like, if we go over here, yeah, is Taylor Swift a billionaire? Declared a billionaire in October 2023, and that's when around the time that it was released. But it's not like before she released those albums again, she didn't have much. Like, she had more than the average person. She was rich. She could retire right now with the money that she had before re-releasing those albums. And it won't run out unless she's like a really bad spender. Like, it's not like she went from having only 100,000 to 1 billion because of those. Like, she would have had 900 million plus. So, it's not that, you know, clearly she was making a lot of money from her initial albums, and it just seems selfish to re-release them because, you know, Swifties are diehard fans. They will buy the albums over and over again as long as she keeps re-releasing them. And as far as I know, the Taylor's version adds nothing. It's not like a deluxe version or anything like that. It's she's just a prick. I think that's all I have to say. Usually I would pause the video, think on it, and then come back if there was anything else to say, but I can't pause videos on my iPad. So I'm just going to think here. I also can't see how long this video is. The initial video was 14 minutes long. I'm assuming that this is probably around 20. Which the extra 6 is gonna come from, like, explaining why I have to re-record it twice. And also just rambling, like this actually is. I'm just gonna end it here.